Actually, the rain feels
It's not
kind
raining
of
right
good.
now.
The rain feels kind of good, actually. And we have a wonderful panel here with us this evening to talk about schools, to talk about education. And so I don't want to belabor my introductions here. We have, as I said, a great panel to talk about education and answer any of your questions. The main point that I want us to leave with, I want you to leave with, I want us to leave with, is that we cannot become complacent about education. And I think that is such a danger right now. When I ran, 4 years ago, we were hemorrhaging. We were hemorrhaging. Education was hemorrhaging. We were faced with all kinds of difficulties with regard to support for our schools. And you know, we've done, in the last 2 sessions, we have done magnificent work. We have done historical kind of funding of education. We have looked at ELL, we've looked at absenteeism, all kinds of good stuff. But as I said, we're just scratching the surface, guys. We have 30 years of disinvestment in education to make up for. And so we have got to really continue to keep education as a priority. I know the transportation package is important, and the climate issues are important. All these things are important, but without education, we're just not going to get to where we need to go. So to me, that's the message of tonight, and I want to appreciate our panelists, and I'm sharing this forum with Janeen Sollman, who is the candidate for House District 30, the Democratic candidate, I should say, not the Republican candidate. So we'll let her sort of say some words and introduce the panel. So.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. Sincerely appreciate it. Want to tell you that, you know, education is extremely important. People move their families to a town, to a city because of schools. Businesses will surround their businesses around good, solid schools. It's very important. Education is the cornerstone of a thriving community. You know, my husband and I, we moved to House District 30 24 years ago. We started our family, and I jumped in and I got involved in the schools. I volunteered in the elementary school where my kids went, doing fundraising, doing anything possible to provide service, right, directly to the classroom, making sure we raise money for playground and classroom equipment and technology. And I found such great satisfaction out of that, out of all those folks coming together and helping for that common cause, that I decided to run for school board. So I ran for school board in 2009. I have been on the board for 8 years now, been board chair for 2 of those years. And I've participated in budget committees and strategic planning and career and college pathways. And I have had such a great experience with that. My motto has always been that if I'm making decisions in the best interest of kids, I better go where the kids are. So I'm very accessible, I'm very open, I'm in the classrooms, I have relationships with staff members, with teachers, with students. And it has been an incredibly rewarding experience, you know, doing that. But I need to tell you that one of my situation at my home is that we need to make sure that we have clear pathways for our kids. And how that relays back to my home, I have 2 boys. I have one that, you know, graduated from Liberty High School, went on to college, and always knew what he wanted to do, and he is going to be a special education teacher this fall. My youngest wasn't quite sure what he wanted to do. And he didn't want to just go to college because people said, you have to go to college. Start assuming that debt and not really knowing what direction he wanted. He connected with the school to career program through the chamber, and he actually went to a trade school. And he found such a great connection there that he's looking at pursuing the trade angle. And he sat with me one time in the middle of this and he said, Mom, I have to say that I feel like the Hillsboro School District, a lot of what folks have been saying is anywhere you listen to is, where are you going to college? When are you going to college? What are you going to do in college? He said this pathway wasn't exactly talked about, and we don't really explore that too much. And I'm glad to see a different change in direction and a growing change in the Hillsboro School District, and I want to see that for Oregon. I think that students want and deserve and need to have a clear pathway. It helps not only the students, but it alleviates debt for them. It helps our economy, and it helps our small businesses. So I need to, I get very passionate talking about that. I've been having a lot of great conversations about that. But I appreciate everybody being here tonight. I appreciate you being here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go, you mind just going down the line, just kind of giving a brief introduction of yourself? And
Okay, so my name is Karen Valise, and I'm a Future Connect student. I go to PCC, Portland Community College. I just finished my first year, and I'm about to start my second year. Well, for me, school is really important. I love it, and I wouldn't stop. Once I started, I was kind of scared, but now I know I can keep going. And Future Connect has given me that confidence to keep going, because it has a group of people that help me push myself and keep going, even if I'm the first person in my family to go to college. But I have a group of people that help me and walk with me through the whole process. So I am really grateful.
Thanks, Karen. That's awesome. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Joshua Laurie. I'm the program manager of the Future Connect Scholarship Program at PCC. My background is 20 years of education as an educator, working with individuals who are exiting street life and also individuals who are first generation or low income trying to go to college. With that background, about 2011, we helped develop a program called Future Connect, which provides students with a scholarship and support. So not just money, but also support to access community college so they can get a certificate or a transfer degree. So it's not just about going to a university, but it's also about finding a pathway to a job quickly and into the workforce. We serve about 1,200 students a year, and of those, 350 new students every fall coming out of Portland schools, Hillsboro schools, and Beaverton schools. And the unique thing about Future Connect, it's not just a partnership as a college, but we actually bring community partners together. So it's a partnership with the state, cities, and the college. So it's a big piece about all of us coming together to wrap around services to make sure students like Karen are successful. And I really appreciate Karen being here tonight and speaking on behalf of the program. So thank you.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Brooke Nova, and I'm the coordinator of Career and College Pathways for the Hillsboro School District. This is my 15th year in Hillsboro. I've been a teacher, a counselor, and now a district office administrator. I grew up in Hillsboro almost my whole life, so Hillsboro is just my love. Specifically in my job, I oversee school counseling K-12 and career and technical education programs, as well as we've developed a career and college pathway framework where we bring in counselors, teachers, students, community members, business partners, large and small, to talk about how do we all work together to make sure that we're moving students forward to guarantee clear and viable pathways for our students, and to make sure that we're creating that early on. I love that, making sure that we are serving our students and creating a framework that starts in kindergarten, starting to explore careers and help them make those decisions early on so that when they do graduate high school, they are career ready. If they choose to go on to post-secondary education, wonderful. And also making sure that we have internships along the way that connects that classroom to community experience, so students have that hands-on opportunity for exploring different careers as well, so they feel confident with that next step. So that's what we've been working on the last 3 years. We're also seeing wonderful growth. Our internships have gone up 38% in 2 years. Our FAFSA rates have gone up 7%. Our post-secondary enrollment rates another 7% in 2 years. So the strength of our community is something we believe in, and how do we best support each student going forward.
Hi, I'm Melissa Fung. I'm going to be a senior at Hillsboro High School this coming year, and the college and career pathways have been a really big influence in my life, and they've been really, really helpful. I know last year for junior year, I participated in a lot of these things. For the most part, you didn't really hear about them until later, because I came into the Hillsboro School District a little bit later because we moved, but they were really, really helpful. I learned that I love STEM and I want to become a chemical engineer when I grow up, and I wouldn't have known that without these programs. And I was able to internship over the summer, which was a really good experience, and I have a lot of respect for teachers now, even more than I did before. So,
Because you helped teach a summer program.
I taught a summer program with planning. I learned essential skills like leadership, teamwork. I learned that, it's not always about saying what you want to do, it's always about compromise. learning to work with students and encourage them into fields that they don't really know themselves.
Hi, I'm Shannon Jones. I'm at the bottom end of the scale because I'm the elementary teacher on this board. I teach at Quitama Elementary School here in Hillsboro. We are a STEAM program, not just a STEM, but a STEAM program. We've added the arts to it. I feel that our job at the elementary level is to get students excited and already making those career connections at the level that they are at elementary, so that when they move to middle school, they know what they want to do, and not just college, but also the vocational. We do a lot of hands-on projects in our classroom. We have partnerships through this Metro STEAM partnerships that come in and bring Intel, Tektronix. These companies are coming in and working with our students at even our grade level. My fourth graders last year worked with engineers from Tektronix to learn how to use and program on Python. That's like the up and new language, and if we are already getting them started at this level, when they get to these programs, they're like ready to roll. So I guess that's kind of the passion that we have at the elementary level, is that we really want to get students thinking about a plan and then helping to facilitate that plan when they make that jump from elementary to middle school, then on to high school, and then wherever they're going on from there. I've been teaching, I think this is like my 22nd year of education, or being in education, and I think I'm just as excited this year as I was the first year I taught, and I think it's the students and the partnerships that we have with people in the community and our families, so I'm excited.
Before she says anything, I do want to, I want to take the opportunity to introduce my good friend, colleague, Representative Margaret Doherty. When I first got down to Salem, she was assigned as my mentor. I never could get a hold of her though, so you know, I just had to go on my own. But Margaret has been a wonderful colleague, and I can tell you in our caucus meetings and our leadership meetings and so on, she is extremely feisty, and education is her passion. Former principal, and is it official that you're the chair of the education committee yet or not?
Not officially yet, but I worked for the union. I wasn't a principal. I was on the other end. Okay.
Oh, no wonder.
I used to fight the principals. Every time I walked in the building, the principals did not like to see me. But anyway, I'm Margaret Doherty, and I represent Tigard in Southwest Portland, and have since about 2009. And prior to that time, I was retired, but I was a high school teacher for 10 years in Milwaukee. And I came from a school district that still has an occupational skills center that teaches kids everything from carpentry to now it's broadcast journalism, and we had healthcare and plumbing and sheet metal and everything, agriculture, everything else. I did that for 10 years, and then I started working with the Oregon Education Association. And for 11 years, I was the union rep for the Hillsboro teachers. And so I went everything from coming in and having to merge all 7 or 8 contracts when Hillsboro, the grade school district, had to merge with the high district. And then also, probably the worst part of my career is I was here in 2003 when we closed night down 19 days early. And made the New York Times, Mother Jones Magazine, and the cover of the Oregonian. We made the New York Times twice, and not in a good way. So, so I've seen the ups and downs. I've seen when we've had some money for education, and I've seen when we had to close down very, very early. But education is my passion, and I think a lot of the success we do have in education is because of the teachers and the parents working together to make sure that happens, and to stand up to make sure that we have enough stuff for our kids.
Thank you so much.
I was not a principal. No.
Well, as you can see, we have a very rich panel here of expertise that we're going to be able to, answer some questions through. But right now, I want to introduce Oriana Manera, the Measure 98 organizer. She's just going to give a brief summary of a measure, and then she's going to be available for post-panel to answer any questions that people have afterwards. So, just going to...
Hi everyone, my name is Ariana and I work with Measure 98 and I'm here today because I'm hoping to ensure that every student in Oregon graduates from high school. We have the 4th worst graduation rate in the nation, 74%, and that's not just sad, it's embarrassing. We can do better for our kids. We have people at all levels of education, at elementary, middle, and high school working really hard to get those kids out the door, to put them on multiple pathways, but we need to do more. And that means investing in 3 areas that have been proven to help raise graduation rates and help support kids after they graduate. And those are career technical education, college level coursework while they're in high school that helps make college more affordable and helps to support our remediation rates. Right now, 73% of students in community college need to take remediation classes. That means they're paying for classes in order to take the classes they need to graduate. And we can do much better for those students. We can help make sure that they're prepared when they graduate from high school to succeed in community college and 4-year universities if that's what they choose to do. At the same time that we're supporting those students who want to go directly into a career. We have another problem, which is that we have a lot of jobs that we can't fill. Jobs for skilled workers in construction, electricians, in welding. I was just talking to a farmer in Troutdale who told me that he has to contract out of state in order to get people who can do agricultural welding. And there are programs in the state right now that are teaching those skills, really great programs. And I know that Century High School here in Hillsboro has a fantastic welding program. But about 10 years ago, we had 1,200 CTE programs. Now we only have about 600. CTE? Career technical or vocational education. Those are the shop classes, the welding, the woods. And we've lost those classes because of budget cuts. And everybody's fighting to get some money. There's so many important areas of education that we need to fund. But we can't leave our high school students behind. And so what Measure 98 will do is it will create a sustainable stream of money to support those 3 areas, the vocational or career technical education, the college level coursework, and to round it out, those services that help kids stay in schools, counselors, wraparound services, anything to help support a student and help allow that student on their way. And the source for this sustainable stream, at least initially, will be some of that new revenue we have coming in. We have about $1.7 billion that's coming in from taxes. We have a growing population and a reasonably solid economy right now. But that won't continue to be the case if we don't invest in our workforce and we don't invest in our high school students. So we want to set aside about 15% of that $1.7 billion. That's 1% of the entire budget. And that's consistent with what the past 2 sessions of budgets have set aside for all-day kindergarten and for early childhood education, which are very, very important areas for supporting your graduation rates down the line. But it shouldn't depend on luck that a student had access to those programs. We have those juniors and sophomores, freshmen and seniors who are struggling right now and could benefit from resources. So the measure would set aside about $800 per student, $147 million per year that would be available to every single district in the state, so that they don't have to compete for those grants that run out that currently fund a lot of the college level coursework, or the vocational or career technical education courses, or support dropout prevention resources. Measure 98 will help to ensure that every student in Oregon graduates from high school, and we know that these areas work. We also want to make sure that this money is on top of the state school fund. That's why it's a separate stream of money. We don't want to make a carve out, because these programs are expensive, and a lot of districts have had to make those cuts, go from that 1,200 CTE programs down to 600, because they've had to make tough choices. And we want to put districts in an empowering position where they don't have to choose between elementary or middle school and their welding program, or their shop, or their new generation robotics or computer coding classes. Other states like Washington, Idaho, and California all fund their CTE programs and their community colleges in a similar stream of money and support that transition from high school to college. That is so important. So that's the basics of Measure 98. I'll have a table in the back of the room where you can come and ask me questions if you have them. Hopefully we can get you excited about the measure, and for those of you who are sitting here and thinking, this is so important, we need to make sure that it passes in November, come on and see me. We're going to be doing some canvassing, both to support Janeen and then also to get the word out about Measure 98. Thank you so much.
thank you for that presentation. It is an important issue that we need to really look at and be cognizant of our budget. Boy, that budget is just a real concern. One of the things I try to encourage my fellow legislators about is I don't know, I mean, I guess I've just become a fiscal conservative, if I can use that word. But you know, we thought, well, boy, we're going to pass marijuana, and that's just going to really put us up there in the clouds, so to speak. But I think, you know, I'm still waiting to see what we can really recoup from that particular legislation. And other legislation, I guess I'm just trying to fumble around, trying to say I'm still trying to think about being cautious about what we're looking at in terms of expenditures and figuring out how we're going to pay for things. Our revenue system for the state really needs to be revamped, changed, so that we can really have the revenue we need to make these changes. I do want to, speaking of the budget, talk about, with Representative Doherty here, sort of a recap of some of the kinds of things we've done with regard to education in the last couple of sessions. And just this last session, I think that Margaret and I teamed up on a particularly important bill, which was the bill to help me with this. I can never remember numbers. The numbers are bad.
4002. That's what I have written down.
Okay. Is that the absentee bill?
Yes.
Yes.
Statewide education plan to address chronic absentee of students in public schools.
And if you're not aware, 1 out of 6 kids in this state are afflicted by chronic absenteeism. Chronic absenteeism is measured by, I believe, is it missing a whole month of school a year?
Well, actually, some of them it's even 10 days.
Wow.
So if you think about that, so say take first grade to 12th grade, right? And 1 month out of each one of those, they miss a whole year of school. Yeah. So the bill really requires then districts to come up with a plan to address the issue of chronic absenteeism. And so it's really fashioned on a similar bill that we passed to look at the English language learner program, which again, if that follows through as we're setting up the rules and so on, that will be a model, a piece of legislation for the rest of the country. And essentially what we're looking at is taking our good programs, there's a handful of good programs, and learning from them, what are the best practices, and then using those to then do technical assistance with other schools that are falling short and bringing them up to stuff. And so we want to do that with the chronic absenteeism as well. The other bill that we passed, and Mark can speak to this a bit more, is the Trauma-Informed Care Act. That bill will put trauma-informed care prevention specialists into the schools and will be able to address some of the mental health issues that occur in our schools and support then our teachers who are plagued with behavior management issues, and also our school counselors, so that they can do their work and help our students transition into college, as some of these programs are trying to do. Margaret and I want to share some of our other great things that we've done.
Will we do that now, or?
Well, I think that was
Okay, so on the agenda, okay.
Yeah, legislative recap.
Part of what it is, and I think you'll attest to it, is that when we talk about like trauma care and so on, we have students that are coming into school that have either faced domestic violence or violence against them. And so the example I always use, I was out at a school in Southwest Portland, and cute little kid, second grader, it was around Halloween time, and it's not that he acted out by hitting people or so on, but he would just bolt from class. He was never in class, just all of a sudden he was gone. And he would go down to the principal's office and so on. So if you even tried to bribe him with a Halloween costume, he'd just go back to class and stay. But this was a young man, a little boy, who, as a first grader, had been pulled from the home because of domestic violence. And he was on the phone to his mom, and the principal was there, and he said, "I just hope that Daddy didn't leave bruises on you like the last time." And so these are the sort of traumas and so on that these little kids are facing. So what it is the idea to get we used to have child development specialists in all the middle and high and elementary schools, and they were trained social workers that could deal with a lot of the issues, but some of them have gotten even more severe now, and so whether it's mental health specialists and so on and so forth. And some of the districts are trying to do this, but it's also to hopefully carry on, and this is something we'll be working on in the next session, to have it go even further. So we have in the high schools retention specialists that will go out and if we don't count that, well, my gosh, 78% of the kids did not get through in 4 years. Well, let's not worry about the 4 years. Let's make sure these kids get a high school diploma, even if it takes 6. And so there are retention specialists that are going out, bringing the kids back and finding out what they want to do and getting them in programs. And so those are the sort of things that we're looking at, because it's no longer, you are there at a certain time and you leave at a certain time and you go home and there's milk and cookies on the counter and so on. There are a lot of issues that educators need to deal with. And when you've got, how many kids in your class? When you got 36 kids in a 4th grade class, it's really hard to deal with anything, to be honest with you. And so those are the sort of things, trying to deal with class size. And we've had, for example, Representative McLean has a group on class size and the effect of that. We have another thing we've been working on in summer programs. I don't know about both Hillsboro and Forest Grove have really good summer programs for kids. And so it's the idea of having it statewide. And whether it's in my schools are Tigard schools, and they had a summer program that was not only with a nutrition program, but it was also literacy, and they worked with the libraries and all these other things. So those are is the focus, but I think the big focus in education this time is going to be, my personal philosophy is no more unfunded mandates. I mean, we said, yes, we're gonna have all-day kindergarten, but we didn't have a funding component, so we had to find the money for that. We said we're going to have, in 2007, they passed that every building will have, every school will have 45 minutes a day of PE for every child. Well, now it's supposed to go in 2017, the schools don't have the facilities to do that. And so if you only have one gym and 500 kids, do the math, and it's impossible to do. So we'll be kind of looking at things like that. Chronic absenteeism, getting more resources in the classroom, hoping to get that class size down, because that is absolutely essential. When I taught, we actually had class size in our contract, but one year I had 45 kids in a senior class, which was fine, because I could threaten them that, they don't be good, they're not going to graduate, and you could do that, but to have 36 kids in a 4th grade class is criminal. It's absolutely criminal, and it's really hard on those kids.
Can we also look for pay the teacher wages same equals as everything from Middle County? Because last year,
Can I interject for just
Yes.
1 second? Is it possible we're
We
gonna?
have questions at the end.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're having somebody bring you a card right now, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish up the legislative wrap-up, kind of get some ideas. Then we're gonna give you a little bit of break to kind of digest some of the things and what you see as folks' expertise level. Then you can think about some other questions. We'll take a little break, and then we're gonna come back and answer some questions. So please write it. If you could write, that would be great.
Absenteeism, CTE, the programs, getting more kids through high school. We already have the Oregon Promise, which pays for community college, most of it. For if you're graduating from Oregon school, have a 2.5, apply for a Pell Grant, and you can apply to get kind of free tuition. You still have to pay like $50, but trying to get the tuition down at the community colleges. Those are the sort of things that we'll be working on and will continue to work on. And I know that the Oregon program, what we call the Oregon Promise, is really being looked at other states. We stole it from Tennessee, and now other states, even California, is now talking about doing that. So that's what we're doing in education. My personal philosophy is let the educators teach, let them teach, and let's not have people who are non-educators tell them how they're supposed to teach. Might be a good idea, but let's work on the issues that are outside of their area of control. And let's try to help parents and make things a little better for the kids.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I would like to sort of summarize some of the comments with some notions. A couple of things. One, you can anticipate, as I kind of alluded to before, that you can anticipate a transportation package. And that is going to take a lot of politics, a lot of discussion, I'm sure, in Salem. But we do need to come up with a good transportation package that all stakeholders can sort of agree with. Beyond that, I think we'll probably be taking on some more environmental kinds of bills so we can address some of the issues that haven't been addressed in the last couple of sessions. I think that also there may be some tinkering with the minimum wage business, really making sure that that thing is sustainable. And economic development is certainly another issue that's going to be a part of the agenda. But I do want to, again, emphasize the whole notion that I believe that education has got to stay as a priority. And let me, it's just straight math. Let me just go through this mathematical thing for you, with you, I should say. You all know that Oregon agreed to a 40-40-20 aspirational goal, right? Aspirational. We want to achieve 40-40-20 by the year 2025, which ain't that far away.
And the explanation of that is?
And so for 40-40-20, 40% of our citizenship will have four-year college degrees, right? 40% will have two-year degrees, and then 20% will have trade certificates. So if you think about this, why do we want to have such an educated workforce, right? Because the better jobs people get, the more education they get, the higher paying jobs they're going to get, the more taxes they're going to pay. So that's what we want. We want people to pay taxes. So it's important, seriously though, to help people get their full potential, and that's what that 40-40-20 is about. But here's the thing. Almost 25% of the students in the state of Oregon are Latino. 1 out of 4 kids in these K through 12 are Latino kids. The graduation rate for Latino kids in the state of Oregon is 55%. 55%. So 45% of those kids are not going to graduate from high school. Do the math. We're never going to reach 40-40-20 unless we change that statistic. And it's not just Latino kids. I mean, our graduation rate for our general students is the lowest, almost the lowest in the whole country. We have got to turn that around. That's why I keep arguing that, man, we cannot become complacent. We cannot lose sight of prioritizing education. And I will also say that we cannot pit education against jobs or human services. It just doesn't work. We have got to maintain jobs in this state. We've got to maintain good, healthy policies for all our citizens so our kids can succeed in school. They've got to have stabilized housing. They've got to have health care. I mean, all of this stuff goes together. It isn't one thing over the other. So, to me, that's a struggle. That's a struggle in Salem. That's a struggle for all of you with regard to where do we, how do we vote? Where do we put the resources of the state? How do we ensure that we've got the resources to do all the things we need to do? How do we do our fair share, literally? And I guess, to me, I just am frustrated with, people saying, well, government needs to do this, or government needs to do that, or they're not doing this, or the corporations are not doing that. It's all of us together. We're the government. We are the people. So, I guess I'm getting a little bit on a soapbox here, but I think that, again, the emphasis I want to draw is really that education needs to be and continue to be a priority. So, yeah. And I think that's giving you some food for your questions, and hopefully we'll get some good questions. And you want to take a minute to...
Yeah, what we're going to do is, you've heard from the panelists, and so now you have an opportunity to gather some of your thoughts, maybe a little bit more. Maybe you didn't have a question quite at first. So now we want you to just, if you have a moment, write down your question. We have someone going around collecting, but we'll take like a little 7th inning stretch for just a minute to collect any, and then we're going to get right to panelists' questions and audience questions. So.